Smogon bans are so arbitrary and non-stop, it's pretty much impossible to keep up with everything. Did you know they banned sleep? I'm not talking about sleep claws, I'm talking about all of sleep is now banned in Smogon, and just look at the list. It's like, wow, there's so many things you can't do in Smogon OU, and you can't even find everything in one place. It's such nonsense. So they don't just list these Smogon-wide clauses here, you have to go to a separate page. They don't just list the banned Pokemon in Uber, you have to go to a separate page, and even this isn't good. So we have like, oh, Uber Pokemon with strategies. This isn't the full list of Uber Pokemon. You have to scroll through all this, try to find out like, oh, what individually isn't usable in this mess because there's so many banned Pokemon. Then there's non-Uber Pokemon with strategies, but that doesn't cover everything because we have other Uber Pokemon. So if you want to find the full list of Pokemon you can't use, now you also have to search through here, because you're not going to find Archaludon, Gouging Fire, and Sneasler on the list of actual Uber Pokemon. So yeah, no Sneasler here, and then we don't have Gouging Fire or Archaludon. So if you're trying to like, look, oh, what Pokemon can I use? I guess because it's not in the Uber Pokemon strategies list, Sneasler, Archaludon, Gouging Fire, they're legal, right? No, you have to like go digging to find it. And if you go to the page for OU, you can't find any of that either. That, okay, we have non-OU Pokemon with strategies, and then it doesn't say forbidden Pokemon. So if you just want to get into Smogon, it's already complete nonsense, and that's before we even get into the Smogon-wide clauses. So as the best Pokemon player, I want to go through all of the Generation 9 OU bans and give my thoughts, and I might even be surprised, like, oh wait, that's banned? When did they ban that? Because it's just so many bans, non-stop. Let's see what's going on. First though, flashbang warning, because, oh, if you go Smogon-wide clauses, bam! No dark mode, alright. Species clause, I mean that's standard, that's like normal Pokemon. Sleep moves clause, Pokemon may not have a move that induces sleep. That is the most stupid, casual, baby thing I have ever heard. That's going to the kid that no one likes birthday party because your parents are forcing you to be nice, and then like they have the stupidest house rules you could imagine. And if you embarrass him with something in the rules, you know it's getting banned. Oh, you're not allowed to use Ganondorf anymore, he's broken. Bro, it's melee. Well, yeah, he's S tier. Ganondorf's broken, you're not allowed to use him. New rule, he's banned. But that was also the original sleep clause where only one Pokemon was allowed to be asleep at a time. Like, how bad are you at Pokemon to have your entire team fall asleep and then you get stomped by it? But it's also kind of understandable because how bad are you at Pokemon to rely on just like spamming sleep until the opponent's whole team is asleep? But then Game Freak nerfed sleep, and Smogon never undid the clause because they're bad at the game. Evasion item clause. Pokemon may not have Bright Powder or Lax Incense. So giving up all the power of an item for a 10% chance to miss, there's no reason for this to exist because Smogon doesn't ban uncompetitive things. That's like, oh, well, RNG is uncompetitive. Then that means Scald needs to be the first thing that's banned because it's a 30% chance to remove a physical type Pokemon from the game. Games will be more decided by Scald's 30% chance than a Bright Powder or a Lax Incense. So if you're claiming it's about making the game fair and competitive because RNG is uncompetitive, then this is just like a lie and contradictory to other decisions. We're only 2 clauses in, and it's already an incredibly casual and entitled format. Then we have the evasion moves clause. Double Team, Minimize have also been like giga nerfed into the ground. That Double Team's been removed from like almost every Pokemon's moveset. It wasn't even good back in Generation 5. Now we have Power Creep moves that bypass accuracy check. Dynamax moves bypass accuracy check. Minimize, there's moves like Heavy Slam that always hit and double damage against it. Brother, look at all these moves that counter Minimize. Like, if Evasion Clause didn't exist for Generation 6, we would maybe see some interesting stuff where your Garchomp has to run Dragon Rush. If, like, you do not want to lose to Minimize. Is Minimize that much of a threat to you? Then run Dragon Rush, because that's how adapting to the game and developing skill and learning game sense works. But instead, oh, you just ban it. And then, like, there goes options, and there goes interesting interactions inside the game. Oh, but Dragon Rush sucks. No one should be forced to run Dragon Rush just to beat Minimize. I mean, if you don't want to run it, then you deserve to lose to Minimize. Also, it's like 5% less accuracy than Stone Edge, and a lot of damage calculations work around Stone Edge or Fire Blast or Hydro Pump. So that's like another thing. If 10% RNG on a Bright Powder is uncompetitive, then that means gambling the higher damage on Hydro Pump, Thunder, Fire Blast, moves like that is also uncompetitive because it relies on RNG to get the more powerful move, but those aren't banned. It's not, oh, you're only allowed to use 100% or 90% accuracy moves. And then here's the trade-off. Do you always want to hit minimize, and do you want to gamble on a stronger Dragon Claw? Interesting, competitive thought and strategy, but no, that's just automatically removed by Smogon because these players are bad and they don't want to deal with anything. And here's where things get really interesting and prove that Smogon players are bad and understand nothing about how competitive Pokemon works, because OHKO counters evasion. That's just a flat 30% to get the KO with an OHKO move, which means if they're setting up their double teams or their minimize, or they already have it set up, you now have the 1 in 3 chance to remove them, which is fair because a tank Pokemon using minimize isn't going to be putting out that offensive threat. Also, stall has traditionally been a huge problem in Smogon, and that's because there's not a lot of good stall breaking when you remove the natural balance to taking out tank Pokemon. Like, if setup tanks get too strong or if evasion gets too strong, well, yeah, that's what OHKO is for. Now, the argument against OHKO is that it takes no skill to press sheer cold and then have a 1 in 3 chance, just coin flipping worse than a coin flip to remove the opponent's win condition. But then it's no different than Scald against physical Pokemon, and Scald's better because it can actually progress the game state and do damage. That OHKO's all or nothing, Scald is still 1 in 3, if you miss it, you're getting benefit. Same thing for flinch strategies, same thing for all kinds of other effects that people gamble on, that every single person that's played Pokemon has prayed that their Thunderbolt gets the 10% paralysis and then gets the 25% full paralysis to win the game. That's even less odds, or even just gambling on the full paralysis off of a Thunder Wave to buy you that extra turn you need to win. That's more RNG than playing OHKO, and OHKO is strategic because, again, it breaks stall, it breaks tanks, and you're making a sacrifice that if you just had a more powerful offensive move, could have more diversity and be better against other types of strategies, metas, and team comps. And another interesting thing about evasion is that evasion clause should have never went through. Evasion should have never been banned in Smogon, and that is a fact. I did a video on this because the forum post and discussion about what happened for the evasion clause was just a mess. That it used to be 2/3 plus 1 vote to get something banned. For the evasion clause, they changed it to just 66%. So it was decided by 1 vote, but if they kept the voting that they had for all the other decisions, it wouldn't have been banned right there. But you can also see people changing their mind. And then it got really messy because people started going, wait, I changed my vote, wait, I change it back, wait, I change it, I want this. And then the admin just kind of like scrambled everything up. And it turns out that like there was a vote accidentally flipped for ban that shouldn't have. So like 1 more vote went through, so it should have been like doubly, triply extra not banned. So this change has affected everyone that's played competitive Pokemon, because another issue I have with Smogon is like they're just bullies. If you don't play Smogon, there's going to be a fight, even if you are the one playing real competitive official rules. That Smogon players are always the one causing problems with their rule set. And look at this, only 140 people deciding the future of competitive Pokemon, affecting millions and millions of players, maybe even over 10 million players in the 15 years, decided by 1 vote that was suspiciously stolen in multiple ways. Evasion clause should have never gone through. So before this information, if you were to ask yourself, oh, what was the support on evasion clause, it feels like it would have been 90%. No, it was barely 1 vote, kind of, with rules changes and suspicious behavior. And even then, OHKO clause barely got through. So like 2 naturally balancing mechanics that are crucial to the integrity of competitive Pokemon and strategy barely got banned, and now Smogon entitlement and uncompetitiveness is out of control. And then there's Moody Clause, because Smogon players are so bad at the game they can't handle Glalie or B-Barrel. Okay, and then the Endless Battle Clause is a weird one, because yeah, it's a really toxic strategy, just kind of like infinity stall your opponent, but there's natural gameplay mechanics to balance this, that if you're playing real Pokemon in the game, there's a timer. And while timer stalling is ruled as unsporting, if you're actually like playing legitimately, if you lock someone into this and you have the timeout win condition, I think you've earned the win, that this shouldn't be banned like that. That anything that detects the endless battle should then go, alright, let's go to end of game state. Who has more Pokemon? And then that decides the win. Because this is one of the most niche strategies out there that almost no one successfully pulls off. It takes like so many things to perfectly line up to get it. And if you get that with a Pokemon advantage, you should just be given the win. Also, another flashbang warning. But no, Smogon has to make it even more confusing and nonsense. So we have like all these things that determine if a Pokemon becomes stale, and then if after 100 turns something is stale, you just kind of lose, or something causes the battle being a tie. Maximum length of any battle is 1,000 turns, where the game ends in a tie. It should probably just be like, maximum length is 200, and then if any of these stale things are detected, again, it just goes into in-game determination, who would win the battle in timeout. But because there isn't a hard time limit to Smogon battles, and for some reason it's this ludicrous 1,000 turns to decide who the better player is in a fake casual Pokemon format, I don't know, like, it's just way too weird and way too messy, so all that's stupid. So all that just to get through the Smogon-wide clauses, and not the individual Gen 9 OU clauses. So no Arena Trap, no Shadow Tag. Just removing a lot of strategies right there. Dugtrio, too powerful. It really, like, the more you get into it, it's like, wow, these really are babies that ban everything that beats them. And I identified that back in Generation 4 when I was like, wait, how trash do you have to be at Pokemon to not be able to handle Garchomp? Now, I did a discussion about this a long time ago to debunk ban logic in Generation 6, but a weird thing that Smogon players don't understand is that if someone is, like, at a disadvantage, they should have the ability to earn some advantage back. So if you KO Pokemon, well, now that the opponent is in a -1 situation, and if they bring in a Shadow Tag Pokemon or an Arena Trap Pokemon as a revenge Pokemon, there's nothing wrong with that, because again, now they are at minus. They are in a disadvantageous situation. It's just another one of those things where if you can't understand your opponent's win condition to where, like, oh, Shadow Tag Gothitelle comes in and you lose the game, congratulations, you deserve to lose the game. Gothitelle isn't that strong of a Pokemon. It just has really sharp situational wins, and they're so sharp and so easily identifiable, it's on you to be a skilled battler and not fall into it. And then the rest of the abilities are just kind of going into that, oh, Sandveil, Evasion. So you can't even, like, dedicate extra power into getting a little bit of mini evasion out of the Sandveil, where, like, I need a Sandstorm team, and I need a Pokemon that has Sandveil. So you have to give up a lot, you have to revolve your strategy around it. Nope, no evasion whatsoever, too strong somehow. And then we also have items. So, like, the King's Rock ban. I did a video breakdown about that a while ago, and that was also just, like, a really silly one. And also shows, like, Smogon's format is mostly broken by not having an item clause, that there was Quick Claw, and I guess Quick Claw is legal now, but it got banned in Generation 8. And I guess because it wasn't banned in Generation 9, people just started running Mono Claw again, and they were thinking they were some kind of smart genius for finding this out. Whereas, like, I run 5 Quick Claw in Generation 9, and I just have so many 1 in 5 chances to just beat the opponent that you always come out on top no matter how bad the odds are. So that shows how casual and zero game sense Smogon players are, that they think they've done some galaxy brain thing by running 5 Quick Claws on their team, when previously it was banned for being 2 RNG, just like how King's Rock and Razorfang, 10% chance to flinch being added to a move, where, like, it's also situational. You have to outspeed the opponent to get this. You're giving up power somewhere else on the item, but these 10% chances are too much. Meanwhile, Thunderwave is legal, Confusion is legal, all of these, like, just deliberate flinch, Serene Grace, all that's legal, but then these items aren't allowed. Then we got banned moves. Baton Pass. Once again, little Timmy no one likes, throwing a fit. Here's the thing about Smogon players. They always need to handshake the Stealth Rocks. If Stealth Rocks is not handshaked, they throw a tantrum and they lose their mind, and they will call you bad if you, like, call the Stealth Rocks and then set up on them, which is why Baton Pass is banned. That's like, oh, you do a lead. They throw out a Ferrothorn, or they throw out their Landorus or their Great Tusk because they need their Stealth Rocks, even though Stealth Rocks is actually just, like, a really bad move. Which also kind of, like, shows the Smogon clauses and rules. It's all about preserving them thinking they're smart because, oh, switching and double switching, that's the peak of competitive Pokemon to them. Stealth Rocks, we discovered that, and anything that threatens Stealth Rock play needs to be removed because we discovered how to play Pokemon. And we can also see with so many restrictions and bans, objectively, Smogon is not real competitive Pokemon. We are so far removed from Pokemon that we're not even playing competitive Pokemon anymore. There's nothing competitive about it, especially when all of these are just like petulant child rules. So any amount of setup into a Baton Pass is banned because it's free against the Stealth Rocks Pokemon, but Smogon players refuse to adapt and they just cry to get anything that beats them banned. Last respects, hard countered by normal type Pokemon. Any Pokemon can become normal now with terrestrialization, and like, yeah, it gets super duper powerful in the late game, but you see it coming a mile away. If you lose to this, your team building is bad, your strategy is bad, and your identifying of opponents' win conditions is bad. So it's just something like, yeah, you deserve to lose to it. It's good, but it's so binary that like it has hard counters, and it was made this way because it has hard counters. And then we have Shed Tail, a nonsense ban. We're banning a move that's only on 2 Pokemon that just gives you a substitute for half your health. So it costs more to have a substitute. But once again, like, if you get a free sub against an opponent that's only brain off Stealth Rocks because they're bad at Pokemon, that can actually be, like, devastating and game deciding. So Smogon's gotta ban it because they have no idea how to play around, adapt to strategies, or run anything diverse. This also shows that Smogon players are really, really bad at team building. They only know how to run the most common movesets on the 10 most used Pokemon and then handshake until someone gets a perfect double switch, and that's the only thing that decides a Pokemon battle. And that's just kind of what they've accepted as competitive Pokemon, instead of actually having like creativity and good design to be able to handle Baton Pass teams, Shed Tail setups, or Last Respects, or anything like that. It's also literally in the Smogon philosophy that creativity is ignorance. So it's just the most sheltered, casual player base imaginable inside of gaming. So yeah, we've gone through all that. What about the banned Pokemon? Semi-flashbang warning, because we're going on to Pokemon Showdown to find that. So, once again, just like also really bad design of the format to like try to find what is and isn't legal and not having it all in one place and then sifting through all of that fun stuff. Also, I want to actually like check what is banned and what isn't. Okay, so Blaziken is legal, Speed Boost still seems to be legal, and then Quick Claw, not illegal. Alright, so like, this is also another weird thing. It's like, okay, how long until someone just kind of goes sub, Swords Dance, Speed Boost Blaziken, and then wins every game, and then that's going to have to get something banned inside of all of this? I don't know. So, going like generation, you can also like find like weird ban inconsistencies, if you can even find what is and isn't banned in one place to kind of keep up with it. So yeah, like, that's things that are still allowed compared to what you might know about Smogon, and then we have to filter out for Ubers, and then we have to like go through all the legendary Pokemon. What I like about this compared to the actual Ubers list is that it's a lot nicer. It's like, here's your traditional restricted legendaries. You get that out of the way, and if you're just looking for the otherwise legal Pokemon, now you can find them. Very nice. As opposed to this, where it's purely alphabetical, so now I have to kind of like find my individual Pokemon in a wall of otherwise restricted legendaries. Alright, Urshifu. Man, like, I've already gone over how stupid these bans are. It's like, it really boils down to, they can't handle this. Really? And then they've also banned so many things that non-problematic Pokemon become a problem. Sneasler is banned. Smogon players are so bad, they can't handle Sneasler. What is Sneasler? Sneasler is a 120 speed, 130 attack Pokemon. Yep, that's just too strong for Smogon, because they ban Chien-Pao, Fluttermane, Iron Bundle, Spectrier. So they remove all the viable 130 speed Pokemon, then it just keeps going down towards like, oh, now 120, 130 is too powerful. It gets to the point where like the bans are so self-evidently stupid and casual, what commentary can be added on it? Oh, I guess also like some of the legendaries are mixed around, like Landorus Incarnate, still banned, even though it was like 10% usage rate. And then they left Landorus Therian up, even though that was like 40% usage. And now Landorus Therian has been replaced by Great Tusk. And it's all nonsense. Also, here's Volcarona. Actually, no, it's not all legendary Pokemon and then bans. It's just that nothing is banned until Generation 5 with Volcarona, and then a few other Pokemon, and then, like, all the new stuff. So, this also just shows, like, how Smogon players have just been unable to keep up with real Pokemon, that they tried to just ban all the Megas back in Generation 6. So they are well over a decade repressed. They were a decade underdeveloped and behind with real competitive Pokemon. So with all this new stuff, yeah, of course they just non-stop ban it because they can't handle losing or adapting. Solander's ban is stupid. Volcarona has always been a threat of, oh, Quiver Dance, and then the game is over. But now it's just like extra strong because it can Terra into something like Terra Fairy, or have something unpredictable and then not get one-shot by a Rock-type move. So it loses a lot of chances for counterplay, but definitely not ban-worthy. That also is like Smogon players just don't seem to accept, like, oh, you give the opponent 2 turns and then they win the game. That's how Pokemon's supposed to work. That if someone can, like, capitalize and sweep, there we go. And sweeping, even with, like, Volcarona being legal in real Pokemon battles, you don't see Volcarona sweeps all the time. There used to be so many more, like, 6-0 sweeps back in Generation 6, back in Generation 7. But now you also have your own Terra to respawn. Smogon banning Dynamax, also just kind of showing, like, wow, these are terrible players that can't deal with real Pokemon. That the whole thing about Dynamax is you're also supposed to strategically use your Dynamax to either get more value or cancel theirs out. And if you don't, congratulations, that should help decide who wins the game because they're the better battler. So there's less insta-loss sweeping now, even with Pokemon like Volcarona and even with strategies like Baton Pass and stuff. But then Smogon bans it because they can't handle getting swept at all. Like, they're so fragile now, even compared to Generation 6 when they were Giga Fragile, banning all the Megas. And then once again, by, like, banning the Megas, well, you're banning counters to other Megas, so now those Megas needed to be banned even though they countered the already banned Megas and stuff like that. So you just make the game completely unbalanced. Urshifu, great wall-breaking Pokemon against, like, Iron Defense and stuff. It's a powerful Pokemon, but if you Scarf a 130 attack, it's not going to get away with much. And then 97 is, like, really good for wall breaking. I do think this Pokemon is overpowered and, like, the start of Game Freak just doing nonsense power creep, and it needs to be nerfed in some capacity, but it's not bannable. My philosophy is, like, does a Pokemon always go 2 for 1 when it shows up? No, not bannable. Does any Pokemon actually do that? No? Get good. Now, Regieleki is a nonsense ban. I feel this is one of, like, the most fair, hyper-sharp Pokemon because it's hard countered by ground. And sure, it can go Terra Ice now, but it needs to run Choice Specs or else it doesn't have enough damage. 100 attack. So if you go, like, Thunderbolt, Life Orb, you're not finding one-shots neutrally, even with Transistor. So it just gets one-shot because it's 80, 50, 50. It's too frail to run Life Orb, so you have to run Choice Specs. But then if they bring in a Ground-type Pokemon, can't really do much with your Terra Ice. And then if they switch out, well, the Choice Specs Ice Beam, even with Stab, isn't going to be crazy because you're not getting the 30% boost that is needed to push it over the edge. So I don't understand. It wasn't like they banned so many things like, oh, Regieleki became too powerful. That, yeah, I guess when you ban all of these other Pokemon, turns out you can't do anything about Regieleki. Oh no. Spectrier. Spectrier I've considered like a Mega Pokemon. Like, this is a Mega Pokemon that doesn't need a Mega Stone, and it's just ridiculous. 130 speed, 145 special attack. Yeah, over-team power creep. We got Grim Nay. We've also seen, like, Ultra Beast shenanigans in previous generations. Game Freak not adding Ultra Beast in Generation 9 means, like, Pokemon Champions and future competitive Pokemon is going to be wild when we have National Dex. Like, what does an Ultra Beast look like with Terra? We didn't get to find out, and it's just going to land, and it's going to be crazy. Does Spectrier need a nerf? Yes. Is it bannable? No. So that's kind of like the rest of it. Blood Moon Ursaluna. I think Blood Moon Ursaluna is like the most pushed Pokemon, biggest Game Freak mistake ever. Needs to be the hardest nerfed out of any Pokemon in Generation 9, except for maybe Golden Go. Yeah, Ursaluna needs it more than Golden Go. Because, like, it just has, like, the everything nonsense. And even then, I'm like, well, it shouldn't be banned, though. But if I was bad at Pokemon and I desperately needed things to be banned inside of Pokemon, Blood Moon probably, like, my one ban, but I still don't even, like, advocate for it. Sneasler, nonsense. Espathra. Here's also what happens when you remove all the power out of the game or you just can't handle anyone setting up. Like, this Pokemon is borderline unusable. You don't even see it in real Pokemon. And that's, like, another weird thing about all these bans. And we even saw it with Freedom Cup. Freedom Cup proves that Smogon's bans don't make any sense. That you don't have a hellscape of only Baton Pass and Minimize if those things are allowed and everything's allowed in Pokemon. You actually just get normal Pokemon battles that look really close to 3v3 Battle Spot. And Smogon doesn't even need to exist because you just take Battle Stadium rules and then you make it 6v6 and there's no change. Like 6v6 Battle Stadium is more real than Smogon. People say like, oh, but how can we play 6v6 without Smogon rules? Smogon's the only 6v6. It's like, no, those are arbitrary, weird, made-up rules that are impossible to follow. Whereas you can just take the 3v3 rule set and make it bring 6, use all 6, instead of bring 6, pick 3. So I guess that just exposes the stupidity of Smogon players, because that was the argument the entire time, where it's like, how are we supposed to play 6v6? You just use the official rules, and if you can't figure out how to turn 3v3 into 6v6, that explains why you're so helpless. You need all of these bans, I guess. And you would also imagine that things are actually more volatile in 3v3, that, oh, if a Spathro is bannable in 6v6, it's definitely bannable and stronger in 3v3 because there's going to be less opportunities to counter it, and it has to do less to win by only taking out 3 opposing Pokemon. Same thing with Baton Pass, same thing for all these like setup strategies that are banned by Smogon. But no, Baton Pass isn't even common in 3v3, when that should also be like the insta-win of, I have my Baton Passer, I have 2 Pokemon that can kind of cover for everything, GG easy, and then the opponent didn't bring the Pokemon that can stop it. Doesn't play out like that. So Spathro is like just too weak to actually work. Again, Smogon players are just kids that are bad at the game and refuse to adapt away from their stealth rocks. So like, yeah, you lose the game if a Spathro gets like a substitute and starts calm minding with a speed boost and you decided to go for stealth rocks. But that doesn't fly in real Pokemon, and it can't even get away with anything in 3v3, and you would think Opportunist like works as a, oh, I catch my opponent's setup and then I counter theirs. No, that doesn't happen. Like, it's just not a good Pokemon at all. So that's a lot of these Pokemon that are banned as well, where it's like, it's actually just not good at all, like a Spathro, like Sneasler. How trash do you have to be to get stomped by these all the time? Same thing with Palafin. Palafin's one of the most fraudulent Pokemon out there, because you have to give the opponent a free turn to just get a 160 attack, 100 speed, and then it's like, okay, it has no ability, and at 160 attack, it pretty much still needs a choice band to like reliably break things, and its coverage is alright. Like, I guess you go Terra Fighting, and then you have like a water fighting Pokemon that can hit a few things, but doesn't have anything like super duper scary to where like, oh, Palafin lands and then it just one-shots everything. No, it's just a bad Pokemon, and you don't even see it that often in 3v3 in real Pokemon because it's not good. You give the opponent a free turn just to come back with a kind of above average Pokemon. Annihilape is another joke of a ban because people power up its Rage Fist and then get destroyed, and then they complain about it. Like, Annihilape isn't, it just, like, I don't understand. I've never struggled against Annihilape. And I was about to say that they even just banned the Pokemon that are like super easy and free to use. That was Garchomp in Generation 4. Like, yeah, you just use Garchomp and you get value out of it. That's not Annihilape. That's not Palafin or like some of these other Pokemon. Now, Fluttermane is ridiculous, and it just kind of turns out, yeah, it doesn't matter if you make a Pokemon entirely weak to physical hits to where like it can't really survive any Sucker Punch. You can't give it 135, 135, 135. That's just too strong. Like, a 135 special attack tier is just too good because, like, Specs Stab is just too strong. And then, like, free ability on Photosynthesis to do some weird stuff, or, like, Terra stacking where you go, like, Terra Fairy and then the Moonblast is just way too oppressive. Yeah, little too far on it, Game Freak. Does it need to be banned? No. Also, no one plays it right because they don't run Calm Mind. Iron Bundle's banned as another sharp, special attacking sweeper with clear weaknesses. So once again, showing like team building is just really bad from Smogon players to where they get exploited by the Pokemon that are supposed to be easy to exploit in return. Excalibur ban, it's just a good pseudo-legendary. Like, I don't understand what made it so bannable. Oh, you run it with like Snow and Setup and Aurora Veil. It's like, cool, do that with any Pokemon you win. So really, Smogon players are just bad. They give the opponent multiple free turns to get set up, and then they get swept, even though it's supposed to be harder to get swept than ever before. Chien-Pao is ridiculous, not bannable. Also, like, this is a weaker Chien-Pao. Chien-Pao with Sheer Cold is a lot stronger, but OHKO moves are banned. It's like all these other bans interacting and making Pokemon weaker and still getting banned. Roaring Moon is actually just trash. This is another one of those, like, complete trash, somehow only Timmies lose to it Pokemon. Chi-Yu, it's good, but it's also not that good. It loses to Assault Vest, Blissey does really well against it, and special defense Pokemon are fine. Like, it doesn't always find the one-shot, and if it doesn't, it loses. so another very sharp Pokemon. Okay, I think Ogerpon is worse than Blood Moon Ursaluna, or like they're the same double S triple plus tier, needs to be nerfed harder than anything we've ever seen inside of Pokemon. So like my two bans would be Ogerpon and Blood Moon, and not even just like the individual, oh, Hearthflame Melina, just like, no, Ogerpon's way too nonsense. Blood Moon Ursaluna is way too nonsense. I would enjoy Pokemon infinitely more if they didn't exist, but I'll still deal with them because I'm actually a good competitive player. Then we have Archaludon. I have absolutely no idea how this thing was bannable. After a slow start, Archaludon's stamina proved worthwhile, fortifying it as one of the most reliable bodies to apply consistent pressure on rain teams. Are we going back to actually just like banning weather in singles for like Pokemon or something? Did they ban Swift Swim Rain in singles? Rework of the weather plus speed boost ban in Black-White OU. So like still making ban decisions for Generation 5 metagame in 2021 because they're just that deranged. One of the more traditional complex bans of Pokemon history alongside Baton Pass clauses. Oh yeah, that was just a mess before they banned Baton Pass altogether. Permanent weather inducer plus a respective speed boosting ability in the same team was just banned. However, 2018 just banned all of Sand Rush. We are locked into a bizarre situation with Swift Swim and Chlorophyll being complex banned, so all weather plus all boosting of that weather is banned, and then Sand Rush is just all banned. History of bans in Black-White OU. Okay. January 2011, Round 2, Drizzle, Swift Swim on the same team was disallowed, and Manaphy went to Uber. Sandstream, Drizzle, and Drought were suspected to be banned, but did not get the vote. Either way, it looks like people tried to cook up some range strats in Generation 9 with Archaludon, dealing draconian damage as the cornerstone of the metagame's most flashy archetype. Should be no surprise that's one of the biggest powerhouses in Scarlet Violet OU. And this was like another weird thing about the bans. Every ban logic was like, this is one of the strongest Pokemon we've ever seen in all of OU ever, in all of competitive Pokemon, in all of Pokemon battles. It's like, well, that can't be true of all of them non-stop, best back-to-back. They all can't have always been the best Pokemon ever. So, okay, Smogon players, too trash to play against Archaludon, and then the last one was Gouging Fire. Gouging Fire is another Pokemon where I'm like, yeah, that's Game Freak being ridiculous and nonsense, but when you've banned every other Pokemon in the generation, now this is of course going to be too strong. It really shows the big flaw with Smogon is removing Jenga pieces does not make the metagame more stable. It only creates more problems and you have to keep on pulling out pieces, and now you're just like an infinite loop of banning everything. And that's what Smogon has been for the last over a decade. So like, yeah, these are just casual kids that understand nothing about Pokemon. At the same time, they have no item clause, which is going to create a huge mess for the game when you can have like 4 Pokemon running a leftovers. So no wonder there's been tons of stall problems or offense issues when you can have multiple choice Pokemon or multiple life orbs on the team, and then you also like ban some of the most powerful Pokemon, and then you just always have a next thing to ban that can also exploit all of the loopholes in the clauses and the not real Pokemon that Smogon OU has created. It also just seems really silly when we have 1, 2, I don't even know the exact amount, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 non-restricted Pokemon banned. That's more than 2 full teams of Pokemon. That means like 2 people facing against each other with teams of completely different Pokemon. It really needs to be capped at like 5 Pokemon. Like, so first you need to put in item clause, and then you need to have 5 Pokemon bans max. That way, it's only truly the most problematic Pokemon to exist that can still kind of keep some balance in there. 5 probably just too much. Maybe it needs to be 3, because again, like once you just start banning everything, where it's like, well now this Pokemon has no counters, so you gotta ban it. Well now that means more Pokemon have no counters, so you gotta ban all of them, and now this item or this ability is too strong, so you just gotta remove everything from the game. But having more banned Pokemon than the amount of Pokemon on team just doesn't seem to make any sense. And I think that's everything. What a mess of a casual fake Pokemon format. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.